trends. Meet our gurus, Brian from Exact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Security Squawk, or welcome back to the Security Squawk podcast, where we dive into the depths of cybersecurity and bring clarity to the chaos. I'm your co-host, Brian Horning, here with Reginald Andre and Randy Bryan. We are cybersecurity experts, and we do this weekly podcast to bring you expert insight and help you understand what's going on out there in the world of cyber threats, cyber crime, cyber criminals, all that good stuff. Ransomware. We're going to talk a lot about ransomware today, right, Randy?
Yes,
Randy
we are.
disappears as soon as I call him
cleaning
out.
off my camera.
Yeah, we got some ransomware attacks. We got some data breaches going on, impacting a lot of people. So we're gonna dive right into it. How you doing, Andre?
Hey, I'm doing well.
All right, ready to rock and roll.
Yes, sir.
First one up to bat is this whole Providence. Why do I have them number one? I guess that's what we're doing. Number one, Providence Public Schools. They were hit with a ransomware attack, guys. This notorious group, they've been around for a few years now. Medusa ransomware group. And here we go again with another school under a ransomware attack. So going to talk about Providence, but guys, remember, before we get into this content and what we're going to talk about today and dissecting these different attacks and what they mean to you individually, your communities, the businesses that you work at, please remember, we do this show out of the goodness of our heart, and we don't annoy you with advertising. I was listening to a podcast the other day because I had to drive in the car for a while, and man, this thing was just jam-packed with advertisements. It was like, for every 10 minutes I had to listen to 5 minutes of commercials. And it's like, those are the things we don't do on this channel. And we just bring you the goods. And in return for that, we just ask that you help other people find this content by sharing, liking, subscribing, whatever you're doing and whatever platform you're consuming this on. There's something you can do on that platform to help spread the awareness, and that's all we ask you to do. You continue to do that for us. We continue to bring you the show ad-free. So that's my little spiel that we do to open the show, to promote it, and that's the last you're going to hear about it as we get into the goods of today, which is this Providence Public School. Who wants to take the lead and kind of bring everybody up to speed on when this attack happened to this school and what they're dealing with since the attack started?
I mean, I can start off reading the article if you want.
Do it.
All right. So basically, there's a deadline coming. That's the clock is running against Providence schools. So 6 days are left before a hacker group threatens to release over 200 gigabytes of data pried from the Providence Public Schools Department.
When did it start? Do we know?
If the struggling school district doesn't pay $1 million ransom. So it looks like the hacker group Medusa is taking credit for the breach, which appears to include all kinds of information we'll talk about in a minute, and identifying information as of January 2024. So it looks like they've been in there for a minute if the data is as of January 2024. So they're going to dump the data, 200 gigabytes of it, if they don't get $1 million ransom.
And it started September the 12th.
Wow.
About it.
Yeah, so it started September the 12th. I'm looking at some information I have from my threat intelligence team on this attack, and they were listed on the. This is interesting, just the timeline that you're getting from the news article, I guess, Andre, right? And then what's being listed on the dark web is that it first appeared on the dark web on the 18th, right? And the estimated attack date is the 16th, but it's actually the 12th. So it's actually 4 days or 6 days before, almost a week before they showed up on Medusa's dark web leak site. So what does that tell us, right? That tells us that negotiations probably broke down after a week, right? This school clearly doesn't want to pay the $1 million that they're being threatened with. And the total amount of data leakage right now stands at about 201 gigabytes of data. So because this school, it sounds like the school's not negotiating or not paying. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and it also talks about how they're also giving the school an option where they can pay $100,000 for the timer to be extended by 1 day. So I'm
Wow.
curious about that. What is it that why? I mean, it's not like the school doesn't have the cash on hand. So I wonder why they're doing that.
Why they're doing what?
Why they're allowing? They're basically saying if you don't pay in 6 days, but if you need an extra day, pay us $100,000 and we won't release the data.
It's a way to make money.
But why does the school need so much time to think about it? I mean, I think 6 days is more than enough time to.
I mean, I would just think that that's a statement. Nobody's saying that the school's paying it. I mean, if they're not paying the $1 million, why would they pay $100,000 to get an extra day?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're just not. It sounds like somebody decided, kind of like what we talked about at Columbus, that we're not negotiating with these guys. We're not paying. And now, it's just kind of playing out here. But it's 2 weeks almost now. In 2 days, it'll be 2 weeks since they were attacked, right? So, So what's going on is, I mean, it has been released. Like there is data being released. So.
Yeah, they released like a little snippet. They do that to prove that they actually have access.
Correct. Yep.
But the stuff that they've released so far, I mean,
they've released data on 134 students so far.
Yeah, and internal memos, invoices, computer inventory, student rosters,
right?
A meeting memo meant for the parents of a student who receives special ed,
right?
One that obscures student names but lists developmental disabilities. Some go into files on individual teachers' computers. The largest folder release contains a number of subfolders with potentially sensitive information relating to human resources, technology, communications, and special ed. This is a lot of crap that it's going to be devastating if they release it.
Another thing is it mentioned in this article in quotes, it says, IT staff followed proper security protocols and worked to isolate the issue, which has been contained. I kind of don't even want to believe that, because if you can't trust them for the first thing, how are you trusting them that they're following the right practices for the second thing?
Right. And maybe it was limited to a handful of machines or something like that is what they're trying to say. I mean, 200 gigabytes. I mean, we could be talking the user folders, and you could have all kinds of stuff in here, both good, bad, and irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but we usually find out in these attacks that it's a lot of bad and not a lot of good or irrelevant, right? I mean, when this stuff ends up on the dark web. There's a couple of things. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was on the show. Maybe it was a little show. I feel like for some reason my brain's telling me it was the show that you were not here for, Andre. Where I kind of ranted a little bit about this in K through 12 schools and kind of how they treat certain protections and certain privacy things for children a little more seriously than they do this stuff, like from a cybersecurity standpoint, and I think what I referenced was, when a kid has a disciplinary problem, like I think the example I used was like, if my kid punches your kid and I want to know what the school has done about that, they're not allowed to tell me, at least in my state. That's how it is. And I'm pretty sure this is like federally mandated that this is how all schools behave now. Right, with privacy rules, right? So they're going to not tell you that information, but this same information that they're trying to protect that way through not telling parents, they're doing a really poor job at protecting it from a cybersecurity standpoint. So what I'm trying to say here is, or maybe I didn't say it well enough the last time, is what these schools are doing is essentially blabbing out there about all their students' stuff when they don't protect this stuff. And they think
Mhm.
they're doing a good job at protecting it, but the cyber criminals are proving them wrong day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked a lot about K through 12 schools. Scott, I feel like for 3 years now, we've been talking about K through 12 schools. What are the long-term potential impacts on students and families when sensitive information like this is exposed, guys?
They'll be 18 to find out that someone applied for credit before them. Someone beat them to the punch.
Right.
Yeah, they can do that. Oh.
Or going back to that video you shared with us in the green room today, right? It's more data points, it's more identification. Like everybody's sitting here wondering, we might as well just change the damn show right now. I mean, everybody's sitting here wondering like why people should be, or why I am advocating that people should be upset when their employers get hacked and their businesses that they do business with get hacked, and start taking this in their own hands, because they're taking the pictures on your licenses and they're taking the pictures on your passports, and they're creating stuff with AI with those things and they're using AI to steal your identity and steal your life in more ways than you can imagine.
Yeah, and that's literally what AI is. Is it's taking all the known data points and just putting them together and then spitting it out in a coherent way.
Well, and it's doing it really fast, like
instantly fast. So you take a bad GPT or a chat GPT or whatever you want to call it that's been trained to do evil, and you put all this stuff together, and the possibilities are endless with email scams and credit scams, opening up credit in people's names, creating fake identities. I think the one that really concerns me the most is using it for phishing and targeted phishing campaigns, because the more information you can have in an email, the more real it appears. So fun times.
Yeah, man. So outside of that, like, how do you guys see this playing out, right? We know we have this problem. Parents and their children need to kind of do things to protect their own information, right? That's one way you're going to combat this issue, because you got to do something if your school does get hacked and exposed and this stuff does spill out there. So you have to take this in your own hands in some way. Another way people can take this in their own hands is by showing up to their school board meetings and asking questions about their cybersecurity practices and who they're involving in their cybersecurity. I think that's a big problem. I will say from my own experience, I went to my kids' school, Medford Township Public Schools, and tried to have this conversation with them. And they were basically like, oh, we have really good cybersecurity protections. Right. Well, guess what? One of their IT people was arrested last week for child porn.
Yikes.
So that gives me no confidence in what's going on in my kid's school district.
Right.
Okay. So you need to show up. You need to do this stuff, because schools are getting hacked left and right. And the only people that are going to make the schools do it right is the BOE. So you need to hold the BOE accountable to cybersecurity and data protection.
Well,
end of story, right?
Yes. And there's also kind of another angle to look at here, is that there's $1 million ransom on the table. And, we don't like giving money to criminals, but how much is this school district going to be on the hook for if that data gets released and then the school district gets sued? And somebody probably ought to mention that. Somebody's lawyer ought to mention that to the insurance company. You can pay the $1 million now, or you can pay 50 million or 100 million down the road when you get sued by all the parents of all the kids whose data gets released.
Did we talk about that last week?
We did. We've talked about that over the last
like
couple of weeks, a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I know there was a big, I think it was hospital, right? That it was basically figured out that if they paid the ransom, it would have been a lot cheaper than the $65 million they paid in a class action lawsuit, right?
Yes.
I think that was something I feel like we covered on the show, but maybe I'm wrong. Andre, you're quiet. Any thoughts here?
No, just the last part is that they have been looking for a IT director since May of this year. So in addition to not having any day-to-day directions from a leader, they're dealing with a cyber attack with no leader.
So, question for you guys. Last kind of question on related to this, but the other thing that comes in my mind when I think about how do we solve the challenges with this, do you guys feel like the federal and state governments need to step in here and provide some support in terms of giving funds to districts so they can shore up their defenses, or do you think that this is something the districts need to solve on their own within their own means?
I mean, relatively speaking, it's not expensive.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
don't
not
know.
getting done, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel that if you start getting federal money to pay for this stuff or to fund it,
Right.
funding eventually is going to run out. So you may have a good 1 year of some good tools and things running, and then someone's going to have to make a decision to say, well, we can't renew this license or we can't, continue this service because it's like kind of giving your kid your grown adult or your young adult money each time. Like at some point they got to be able to fend for themselves and like just be able to survive. They just I it for me it just still goes back to the insurance companies need to stop bailing them out, and because there's definitely some type of uh, misinformation being put on those applications, and if the insurance company starts bailing them out and they're paying out of pocket and they're getting sued and losing their jobs, then probably finally something can happen.
Oh, good, Randy? All right, you're muted. All right, so we're going to move along. That was a good discussion on what's going on with K through 12 environment, which isn't good. And I almost think we could probably make a whole show out of trying to help that industry, that sector with what they should be doing, because for 3 years in a row, I feel like I've been talking about schools getting hit left and right. And, school superintendents, whoever's in charge, you got to figure this stuff out, because it's really getting kind of ridiculous on how much. I mean, after the Los Angeles attack, you would have figured everybody in America would have woke up, and they just haven't. So, all right, we'll go on to Kansas County because it's kind of related. So we'll move into that one next. Andre, you want to start reading that one?
Yeah, give me 1 second. You skipped the article there. I didn't have it open yet. It's loading. All right. So what we have here is ransomware attack on the Kansas County has exposed nearly 30,000 residents. And I'll start off also by saying the city of North Miami, which is where I am, it's now been about 7 weeks and they are still down. And nobody's talking about it except me. So Franklin County.
Who is that?
The city of North Miami. They've been down for 7 weeks in my city. I spoke to one of our clients who's a title company, and the building department is down. So therefore, there could be no new, let's just say, sales of properties, because the building department has to give the final stamp, and their system is down 7 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
All right. That was a side note. So according to officials, on May the 20th, the county said that it discovered and responded to a ransomware attack. And of course, they always call the cybersecurity experts and federal law enforcement after. And now they're investigating the incident. And same song, just different dance. It's people's information, medical records, vaccination information, COVID information, and other personal identifiable things.
So we've identified the problem, and we've identified the victim. Well, the main. I hate calling these people even victims anymore, because like they're not the victims. they're the means to people becoming victims.
The enablers.
Yeah. So, the victims are going to be the residents of Franklin County. So let's just dive right into that. You just listed all the types of personal information that was compromised. So what does that mean for the residents affected if that type of information is out there? We kind of already covered it with the last conversation. So let's just change the audience from children in schools to residents of a town. And what can that information be used for?
I like to call, I like to call it innocent bystander, maybe even better.
Yes.
The bullets are flying and you just get hit and you had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Hey, Randy.
Well, I was just going to say, like, it's not even just the previous leak we talked about. It's the 200 million person leak from, a month ago, and T-Mobile getting leaked, and Verizon getting a leak, and, AT&T, and all that stuff coming together. You take that with this information they have now, let the bad GPT collate it together, and it's just more risk for people to get scammed or businesses to get ransomware or breached.
And here in the city of North Miami, what's happening now is because people pay the water bill to the city, and residents are getting phishing emails acting as if they're the city to now pay the water bill, and they're getting defrauded. And they've done a horrible job in even telling people this. They've only listed it on their website.
Yeah, and then just, the phishing emails are going to come in, and, they're going to figure out ways to take this information and use it to commit identity fraud and identity theft and steal things in different ways. And they're very good at creating fake documents using your stuff. So, because it's all over the dark web, so it's very easy for them to do. So anything else you guys want to add on this one? It's very similar to schools, public entity being attacked. They hold a lot of similar information, really sensitive information, right? You need to prove who you are to do things in this country when it comes to doing things in your municipal government, buy houses, register for things. And when you want to register for school, you have to give up a lot of information. And when you go there, you have to give up a lot of information. And your kid starts to develop. That's one of the first places where a record file starts to be developed for your child, right? And all these things are being hacked left and right? And you got to hold your lawmakers and your elected officials accountable to cybersecurity moving forward. So let's move right along, guys. We got MoneyGram. I want to talk about MoneyGram next. MoneyGram.
What's that?
MoneyGram has announced, or it's been reported that there's a significant cybersecurity event that has disrupted one of the world's leading money transfer services, guys. MoneyGram is the giant in global remittance market, right? Meaning payments, people using it to pay for things. Experienced what they described a quote unquote cybersecurity issue. And that is, what we consider a vague term, and that's describing why they're having a service outage. This outage is impacting millions of customers worldwide. The incident began late last week and has led to considerable operational disruptions, from halted transactions to complete shutdowns of their online platforms. So we're going to unpack this and explore what happened and the steps that MoneyGram has taken in their response to try to figure out what's going on here and the wider implications that this might have on the financial services industry. Obviously, people are having trouble making the normal transactions, but let's take a look maybe a month or so down the road, like this money not moving in the system. What does that mean for the financial system, right? Because it's not about a temporary inconvenience. It's about the trust and security that millions of people place in these platforms. And when that trust is broken, people decide to do different things, right? And handle their money in different ways. So let's talk about it, guys. This doesn't seem like a data breach. It seems like they're dealing with ransomware. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, data breaches, you don't shut down your entire system for data breaches. Usually it's too late anyways. But yeah, ransomware is when things are just not operational and you can't do your everyday business function. That's a telltale sign of MoneyGram. And in the green room, Brian and I were talking about, we haven't heard of the word MoneyGram in so long because now you just Zelle things. But internationally, if you have someone in the Caribbean or Central America, South
You guys
America.
use Zelle in Florida because the rest of the world uses Venmo.
Oh yeah, where's that? Where's that?
MoneyGram's been around a long time, so I mean they're like grandpa.
Western Union, I think, was the original, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I mean it's they're dealing with. I mean, again, that they have service outages, right? And typically with data breach type situations, you're not talking about service outages. Something, some portion or some office or some area of their network and their company is having a problem, right? And because they dubbed it a cybersecurity issue, we know it's not like a software update or something that caused the problem, an IT issue.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I said, which we do see, right? We do see companies come out and say we're dealing with an IT issue, and they're really dealing with a cyber attack.
Right. Well, so they started on the 21st, which I guess was Saturday, saying that it was a network outage.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 23rd, which would have been yesterday, they said that it's a cybersecurity issue. And I'm on their X account, and just looking at how the comments have gone from, thanks for letting us know, to people basically just begging for their money, because this is how they transfer money around with family members and stuff like that. So now we're looking at, 3-ish days plus into this, and it's going to have a serious impact if it hasn't already.
Yep. So we'll keep everybody updated on who's behind this, what's going on. But, does this, in your mind, does this force people to look at alternative payment things like Bitcoin and stuff like that? Like,
I mean, time is money. You got to send your money, transfer some money out. You got to go to another service.
It always does, man. People will look for an alternative, whether it's a payroll provider or Gram or whatever. They're going to look for an alternative. So
hopefully
data gets out on this.
I mean, I don't know what kind of money is typically moved through MoneyGram these days. So it's interesting, to see if there's like a particular industry that's impacted by this more than others. Like if one industry uses it to pay like workers or something like that, and they just can't make these payments, and how this all plays out. So this company is going to have a lot of angry people in their X account. I can tell you that.
I think the thing with MoneyGram is not so much the size, but the ubiquitousness. Is it a word? They're just basically in almost every single country. So it's a way where, they may not have Venmo in, outer Mongolia or whatever. So it's a way you can send money to people in, really maybe other places where you can't. Maybe Venmo doesn't work in that particular country. So
cool. So we'll keep everybody updated. We'll let you know. We'll let you know the impacts. We try to predict those here as best we can based on what we see with other attacks. But this is a little bit unique because it's not a bank. It's not anything you would consider traditional. So I'm super interested to learn what happens with this outage, especially if it extends to a long period of time. So, all right, guys, let's talk about this U.S. Capitol breach that's in the news. A little bit. So let's see. A recent report revealed that personal information for more than 3,000 congressional staffers has been leaked across the dark web. This breach is not just a violation of privacy, it's a significant security concern that could have implications for national security. This incident has exposed passwords, personal emails, and even sensitive details from less secure sites, highlighting a critical lapse in digital hygiene among those within the Capitol. So how do these breaches occur, guys? What happened here? What are we talking about digital hygiene? Is this what doesn't sound like they were hacked. It sounds like the way they do things over at the Capitol isn't so great, and they need to do things a little bit better.
Yeah, it's the whole do what I say, not what I do mentality here, right?
Say
They
that a
want,
lot when these government officials or these government entities get hacked, right?
yeah. I mean, the craziest thing I see here was about them, these staffers using their government issued emails for personal things,
Right.
including adult websites. It's
Right.
Jesus.
like how how stupid are you?
I mean,
I get it, it's convenient.
well, you say that, right? But I can tell you that, like, when we do reviews with companies and tell them that this is going on in their company, every company has this problem.
Yep.
There isn't one company that I can think of in the last 12 months that we've done a review for, and we didn't tell them if they're a client, we blocked it, or if they're not a client, we're telling them this is happening.
Right.
And a lot of times, dude, you'd be surprised at the response you get from the people you tell this information to. Like crickets. Like,
Because they're guilty too. The boss is guilty too.
Well, that's what it's like. Hey, you're like, hey, this is going on. They're just like, okay, cool. And it's like, it's like, he's probably like, that must be me, or
right.
I don't know.
John sends me links all the time.
Yeah. We've had CEOs say, well, I want to protect the privacy of my employees. You know, do we really want to know all this stuff? And, you know, the bottom line, it's company resources, probably using company time. And you shouldn't mix the two, you know, keep your personal stuff on your personal phone and, you know, just use your work computer for work stuff. It's pretty simple, actually.
It's not company, Randy, it's taxpayers.
So let's talk about the bigger thing that I talked about here, and national security. How can something like this impact national security?
Blackmail.
That's one way.
We've got your password to Facebook. We're going to hold you hostage. Or we found your password to these adult sites. So that was in quotes, adult sites. So
that just happens, and it keeps happening for some reason. I saw something the other day where it's like this person's had like 4 email addresses on Ashley Madison, like some guy running for office, I think in Florida.
Right.
And
from North Miami.
Picking on
Florida. City's been down. Just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, and the other thing that comes to mind is like, it's just like you have enough information on these staffers where you can create fake IDs and stuff to get access to buildings. And, you know, when this stuff starts getting spread around the internet, it can fall in the hands of terrorists and things like that, right?
Yep.
And you're worried about January 6th. Meanwhile, these guys are sitting up, hatching up some plan to send, you know, 20,000 people here with, you know, credentials, you know, that they're going to get through certain things because they have this stuff, right? It's ugly. So
they can also.
We only have 6 minutes. Oh, well, no, we have.
Use the Facebook, use a Facebook account. If they get a password to that, to message one of the friends, message the IT department. There's so many things they could do with this information.
Yeah.
But then phishing too.
Oh yeah.
Because now that you know your staffer is going on Ashley Madison, and now you create a fake phishing email to him and get him to log into a 365 account or something.
All right, so we got one article left. Do we want to talk about this MC2 data breach, or do you want me to play the video with the AI?
I like the video with AI.
All right. I got to figure out how to do this then. Give me 1 second. I got to close some stuff.
It just make sure you do the check mark for audio.
Intro the video. Intro this.
Oh, yeah.
You guys intro this, and then I'll get it up.
Right.
So what we have here is in South Florida. We have a guy who is looking to purchase a property, and we're going to now hear a news story of how he almost got scammed with like roughly $53,000 to purchase this land by using AI.
Yeah. So, we are going to share this, and it is AI, right? But this, what I'm trying to stress here is it's not just about AI, right? They're using information spilled over on the dark web to create this stuff, right? So if you don't have all these companies getting hacked and all this information spilling over the dark web that these hackers could then use to easily put into an AI system and create this stuff, then it would be a lot harder. But we're making it so easy with data breaches and AI for criminals to easily create things like we're about to show you right now. So let me share my screen.
And I would say this is the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, this is just starting all day long. So give me 1 second. Let me get rid of this. All right. And then I don't know what you said to me about sharing something and checking them.
Share screen and audio.
Yeah, I got it. It was automatically done. So here we go. We'll play this. What's it, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds? It's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So give it a watch. I'll go full screen here. Here we go.
New at 10, artificial intelligence is now being used to commit real estate fraud here in South Florida.
Almost cost one local man his savings. Night Team's Heather Walker has Tonight 7 investigates.
UD Levy decided at 19 years of age he wanted to invest in real estate.
I've been looking for a while now for an investment, kind of to put my money towards, maybe to develop in the future. And my dad came to me with this land.
The land was this vacant lot in a neighborhood off of Dixie Highway in Hollandale Beach. His dad is a real estate broker. He learned about the property when someone reached out wanting to sell it.
Selling, I would love you to sell my property. So that's fine. Let's get on a call. She said, I'm deaf. I can't hear. I have an issue, a problem. Let's text. I said, okay.
He asked for 2 forms of identification to prove she was indeed the owner. When he looked up the property records, the IDs matched.
Matches the address, matches the passport.
He agreed to sell the land, listing it for $60,000.
We offered them cash, $52,000, and they accepted it.
So you thought you were winning?
Exactly.
The buyer said she lived out of state, so Florida Title and Trust, which was handling the closing, required a Zoom call to see the owner and make sure she wanted to sell.
Just having a normal closing. Somebody wanted to buy a piece of land and we're here to make it happen.
Hello?
At first, the Zoom was going fine, but then something seemed off.
That's a video, no?
Lauren says the woman on the call looked like the pictures on the license and passport, but she wasn't acting normally.
Margaret?
They tried different commands.
If you can hear us, can you raise your right hand, please?
Lauren says they quickly realized it was an AI-generated image.
I caught it, but that doesn't stop them from going to another realtor or another title company and trying it with somebody else.
Both Miami-Dade PD and Broward County Sheriff's Office tell us this is the first time they've seen AI used in this type of.
I think that's pretty much the gist of it, right?
Yeah, crazy, man. They could have lost $53,000.
Yeah, which is nobody wants to lose that amount of money, but in a real estate transaction, it's actually not that, not that much, right? At the end of the day, I mean, you could be losing a lot more. The other interesting thing for me is like, these guys had to do some research. They had to figure out that this woman owned this property, right? You can't just slap. Right? I'm thinking about this scam correctly, right? They had to look up this woman, realize she owned this land, and then create an identity saying that they're her. Right? And then that's what they were trying to do, right? And in that video, yeah, I mean, like I've seen Weekend at Bernie's, and that's basically what it looked like to me. I mean, it's a Weekend at Bernie's video. I mean, but again, this is just, as Randy said, this is just the beginning. You guys pointed out rightfully so, there'll be a day when that video will be able to raise its right hand, and it'll be a lot harder for people to just spot it, right? Yeah. You're muted, Randy, just so you know.
Yeah, that I laughed when I saw it because you could tell right away it was fake. But imagine if you're using like some old crappy Chromebook, not that all Chromebooks are crappy, but you got like a 320K resolution video, which is low res. And imagine if it's like this big, you would never even know that that was a fake person.
Yeah. No doubt. And again, these guys are learning. So now they know from this interaction that they need to do something with their AI to improve it. So there's hand motions and stuff. And that you know, they're banging away right now trying to get that going.
Yeah.
Right. Training their models, getting their stuff working. So one day these scams will work like hotcakes until they don't allow that. Right. At the end of the day. I mean, I get COVID, but we took a lot of bad habits out of COVID too. And that's probably one of them, right? Allowing, virtual transactions like that over Zoom. There needs to be some kind of better verification there.
Yeah, I've even seen in my social media feeds, there's this feature where you can upload photos and then it'll give like a 3-second before and after. Have you seen those?
Mm-mm.
So like, let's just say you have a photo from, when you're in high school and you were just next to your buddy. And then all of a sudden the picture moves and the face smiles and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. So we'll see where all this goes. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting because I think that's the other side of it. I think now that I came here last year, kind of going into 2024 saying this is going to be the year that people need to start focusing on like their information and what gets exposed in cyber attacks. And now I'm starting to see how this information is going to be used against people over the next 20 years.
Yep.
And that's it. They're just it's weird, dude. It's so weird how all this is playing out. Like, it's just weird to me that you needed the internet to go through this kind of evolution to where we had this major cybersecurity issue and all this information flooded over into this area of the internet. And now it's basically going to be used by criminals for a very long time. Like, the stage is set.
For sure.
Doesn't make me feel good.
Nope.
So, sorry, everybody. See you next week.
Oh, raise your right hand. You did that on purpose? Raise your right hand from the purpose?
I don't think Brian's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll bring it to you. Though we'll keep you updated. We'll let you know how it goes. But that's where we are today. AI starting to be used against people and weaponized, based and the gunpowder is the data that has been being bled onto the dark web from companies over the last 5-7 years. And now it's going to be used against you in massive ways, unfortunately.
Right.
So be prepared. All right, boys.
All right.
Talk to you next week. See everyone later.
We left with a dimmer. We got to keep our audience cheered up here. Is there hope?
What?
I said we left like so sad. Is there hope in this?
Not right now.
No one to the rescue.
Not right now.
I mean, I've been saying for like 20 years, everybody needs to have an offline like a hobby or something they could do just in case all the technology gets shut down. So learn how to farm, craft swords out of old pieces of car metal. I don't know, but do something.
Live near a water source. That's what I say.
All right. I guess I'll get my food dehydrator ready.
Yeah. So, no. I mean, right now, honestly, Andre, no. I mean, businesses need to do a better job. And when I start seeing that, and I start seeing them protect things better, then I'll say things are better. But when people are just, foregoing security and data security in the name of growth and in the name of profits, we're in a bad spot. And that's the world we live in right now. Cybersecurity is still a choice for the majority of businesses and industries out there. And it's changing, but it's slowly changing. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Lobbyists, lack of understanding. There's all these reasons play into why this is taking forever to figure out.
Yep. And we have our Capitol Hill staffers just fiddling around.
Everybody is. I mean, look, we decided not to talk about the Department of Justice report that came out that said the Department of Justice doesn't do things good enough either.
Right.
Like you have here, the Department of Justice Inspector General comes out with a report that says the Department of Justice is not doing data security and cybersecurity good enough. That's what I say on this show every week.
Yep.
Is that these businesses, these organizations don't do it good enough. Because if you understand a cybersecurity framework like I do, you understand companies are not meeting that at any level. They want to buy a tool, they want to buy CrowdStrike and say we're doing cybersecurity. We're that's cybersecurity. And they think that that's, you know, the enterprise cybersecurity they need, and it's just one tool, right? You need different components to make a car, right? To complete a car, you don't just get tires and say go down the road, right? And that's kind of what they're doing. They're buying tires and thinking that they have a car. No, they have 4 tires. Keep going. So let's do it.
All right.
All right.